Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. What I'm going to discuss today is my version of the keto diet. And what I've decided to do is to go back to what I was doing back in 2015 when I lost the weight. Because what I've noticed this time is that I'm not losing the weight the way I wanted to. And I told you in the beginning when I started this back in September that you're going to see my achievements and my failures, and to me this is one of my failures. I decided that I wasn't getting enough fat in, and I have to change that. And I also have to stop trying to recreate baked goods, because I didn't do that the last time, and I think that those baked goods are actually putting a damper on some of my weight loss. So I went back and looked at all my notebooks all the way back to the Atkins journal, and I looked at them, and I was trying to read, okay, what was I eating then that made it different than what I'm eating now? And a lot of it was, I wasn't trying to recreate keto-friendly cookies and breads. I wasn't trying to recreate pizzas and stuff like that. I wasn't trying to find ways to cut corners on the keto diet. All right? So my keto diet, although it's going to be relatively boring, it's going to be pretty accurate as far as what you need to do in order to lose that weight. Now, I've seen a lot of people, and they have a lot of questions about, okay, I started the keto diet and I lost that initial water weight. And that water weight came because carbohydrate holds water. Okay, so when you start the ketogenic diet and you lose those carbohydrates that are stored in your body because you stopped using them, and your body will use them up as energy and get rid of them, all that water goes with it. So when you use all that water up, you have to replace all that water with electrolytes and with supplements. Okay. My recommendation on that right there is to use bone broth and to use magnesium, potassium, and salt the crap out of your foods. Okay. One of the salts that I use besides the pink Himalayan sea salt is this product called No Salt, and that's because it's higher in potassium. It's much easier to get a supplement of potassium in something like that, and as well as getting it in your spinach and some of your leafy greens that we'll talk about later. But you have to get that stuff in order for your body to keep producing like the way it's supposed to work, to keep functioning properly, to get your liver into good shape. You want to eat a lot of greens. You want to get in some apple cider vinegar every day. Okay, so here's what I suggest. Now I've talked about the 75, 20, and 5. It's a good formula. It works. I also don't believe in counting calories. So if you want to count calories, you have to ask yourself why. Okay? Because a calorie that you burn is different than a calorie that I burn, is a different calorie that your friend burns or your family member or something else. They're different. So calories are not the same. So what's the sense in actually even counting them? Because on the ketogenic diet, what your body does is it learns to regulate and proportionalize your food servings automatically. Because carbohydrates tell the brain to keep eating, fats tell the brain to stop eating. And that's just what's going to happen. So when you get on the ketogenic diet, your appetite is going to be suppressed because of all the high fats that you're eating. So here's what I've decided to do. Instead of telling you about the 75 and the 20 and the 5, I've decided to go ahead and break it down in grams. And that's grams of the actual foods, not the weights. All right? So in the first one is going to be fats. And fats, the grams of fats that I'm going to eat is going to be over 200 grams of fats. I have to get in over 200 grams of fats per day, because the Atkins diet, the low fat or low carb high fat diet, the paleo, the ketogenic diet, it's kind of all really close to the same thing. It's got a little bit differences between them, but the overall common factor is high fat. So you can't be afraid of getting that high fat macro in. All right. Now, what I mean about fat is that it has to be a process where it's animal fats, it's natural fats, it's the fats that are in all of our meats, it's the fats that's going to be in some of our fruit, which is our avocado. It's also going to be in macadamia nuts and Brazil nuts. Those two are allowed. I'm wiping out all the other nuts and seeds for now. Okay? I'm not saying that they're not keto, but they're not as keto as I want to be. So I need to get myself on that straight and narrow, boring, no corner keto. That's basically what I'm going to call it, I guess. No corner cutting keto. Now, you're going to get in these fats. And then it comes down to people asking about bulletproof coffee. All right. I've been doing so much research on bulletproof coffee in the last couple of days, and this is what I've determined. Caffeine has some good quantities or qualities about it, and it also has some bad. The thing is that you can't have a bulletproof coffee in place of your meal. All right? You don't want to skip one of your meals because you're drinking a bulletproof coffee, because the vitamins that are in bulletproof coffee just aren't as good as they would be in a breakfast. All right? You don't want to rely on just drinking that coffee because, granted, it is high fat but it's no carbs, no protein. It's nothing else after that. No real vitamins. There's some vitamins in the butter, and that's a good thing, but there's no real vitamins in the MCT oil. There's no real vitamins in that caffeine. There's a little bit here and there, so you know, I get it, but it's not enough. All right, have yourself that ketogenic breakfast and add a coffee if you want. All right, I'm going to be doing the decaf. I used a Keurig cup, so probably one of them is going to be regular and one of them is going to be decaf, and that's just the way I've decided to do it. I'm going to stick with the 2 tablespoons of the Kerrygold butter, and then I'm also going to do, instead of 2 tablespoons of MCT oil, I'm going to cut it down to 1 tablespoon of MCT oil, just because I'm having breakfast along with my coffee. So, and that's going to be a lot of extra fat to process in that time. All right. Now, the next thing that I'm going to focus on is the proteins. I see a lot of people that show me their menus and their journals and stuff, and it has so much more protein than what you probably should be having. Now, an easy way to figure out your protein portion size is your own hand. Okay, it's a palm of the hand, and the palm of the hand would be just the palm without the fingers. Okay, without the thumb. It's just that and the thickness of your hand. So that's an easy way to figure out your portion for protein. And it's the same way when you do a carbohydrate. You want to do a handful. Now that's going to be basically like your fist size. That is your portion when I talk about carbohydrates. All right. Now, with those proteins, you want to get the fattier meats. You want to get the pork belly. You want to get the ribeye steaks. You want to get just about any type of organ meat that you can. Now, I may not do those organ meats because I'm not a big fan, but I'm still going to do some of those other fattier meats. And I found some pork portions, 4-ounce sizes, already pre-shrunk with fat on them. And I think those are going to be some of my go-to meal proteins. What I also found was that chicken and white fish are not very keto friendly because they're so high in protein and so low in fat. Okay. Now, if you go with, say, thigh meat and dark meat and stuff like that, that's a difference. Okay. You're gonna end up with a little higher fat than what you would normally have in a boneless, skinless chicken breast. Okay. We've gotten so programmed by this low-fat Western American diet that we think that a chicken breast is actually a healthy part of our meal, and it's not. We actually need to get more of the fat part and less of the protein part, okay? Because it's a high-fat, moderate protein, low-carb diet is what the ketogenic diet is. Now, okay, with protein, what I'm going to recommend is less than 100 grams of protein. And then, so you want to keep your meals individually under 25, around 25 to under 30, around that area. So if you're going to be doing 3 meals of proteins, you're going to end up with about 90 or less, and that's perfect. You don't have to hit that 100. The only one that you should hit on any of these macros is going to be the fat. When I give you that number on the fat, 200, exceed that if you want. Go over it just a little bit if you want. I don't care. That's okay. You try not to go under the fat, but you try to stay under on the protein and also the carbs when we talk about that. Now, the protein is going to keep your blood sugar levels good. It's going to keep your insulin low. Fat's going to keep your insulin low as long as you're in ketosis. Okay. Now, another thing that I've been running into with people is that they start the diet, they lose that water weight I talked about, and then they feel some of the effects of a keto flu, which just means that their electrolytes are off balance, and then the next, they think they should go right into ketosis. And it just doesn't happen that way. Your body will continue to produce its own glycogen in a process called gluconeogenesis. And as long as your body depends on sugars, and it likes the idea of sugar, and you've been feeding it sugar all these years, it's going to take a little while for it to adapt over from glycogen over to ketones. Now, you may test your blood and you can see that your blood levels have ketones in it. And that is a good indication of ketosis, but it doesn't mean that your body is actually using those ketones just yet. So when your body starts utilizing those ketones, you're going to see the weight loss come off, because as your body uses the ketones, your liver is going to process more of your fat into energy, and you're just going to get better results. You're going to start losing that gut. You're going to start losing the inflammation and everything that's within you. You're going to feel healthier. You're going to feel more energized. You're going to feel clarity. You're going to be able to think better. Okay, now let's get back to the macros. The last one is going to be the carbohydrates. Now, the carbohydrates are always going to be leafy green vegetables and cruciferous vegetables, and those are going to be like your crunchy greens. So your leafy greens, you're going to end up with two handfuls of leafy greens, which a handful is about a cup, maybe a little bit more. But like I said, look at your fist size or your handful size. Grab some leafy greens. And some of the examples of leafy greens are going to be spinach, kale, romaine, your spring mix, stuff like that. All right? Mustard greens, collard greens, those are leafy greens. Now, those are going to be 2 handfuls a day. And I don't care whether you get them in breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Do any way you want, but just get those in. All right? It's pretty important, because it also has the fiber and the vitamins and minerals and everything else that goes with them. Okay, now the crunchy greens are going to be like, it's just going to be 1 handful of crunchy greens, and you're going to end up with stuff like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, cabbage, or not cabbage, cauliflower, stuff like that. Cabbage can actually go on the leafy greens. So you're going to have those 2 handfuls of leafy, 1 handful of crunchy, and that is going to be your 20 grams of carbohydrates. That's it. Don't try to magically look at some of these other products, processed foods that you want, and look at them and say, oh, this is processed, but it only has 4 net carbs. I could have that. No. this is going to be no corner cutting keto. That's just what it's going to be. And you get your carbs through your vegetables. That's it. Don't try to fancy keto up. Don't try to change it. Don't try to manipulate it. Because when you start to eat certain things that were trigger foods for you before, breads, you're going to get a craving back for bread. Your body's going to think that it's still bread because in your mind you're still thinking, hey, this is bread. But it could be keto, but your brain can still think it's not. All right? It's weird. Potato chips. Even if you just say, well, if I have one or two, it won't hurt me. It can bring back a craving. Alcohol. It could bring back a craving because your ability to absorb alcohol is going to be very different than when you were not on keto. All right, you're going to be the alcohol is really going to affect you differently. It's going to give you, it's going to get you intoxicated much quicker, and it's also going to give you much worse of a hangover the next day. All right, not to mention that it's killing parts of your liver and it stops your fat loss process. It just stops it. Alcohol in itself will stop the alcohol, or will stop the liver from processing your fat for energy. And we don't want that. We want to keep this process going and chugging along like a machine. Boom, just like that. So we know that now that our fats are going to be 200 grams, our proteins are going to be less than 100, and our carbohydrates are going to be less than 20 every day. That's your goal. That's how you're going to achieve that ketosis that you're looking for and the weight loss that you're looking for. All right? Don't try to make the ketogenic diet into something that it isn't. Don't try to play with it and manipulate it and recreate things. Just stick to these basics until you've achieved your goal. And once you've achieved your goal and you've reduced the body fat, you reduce the inflammation, then you can go on and start making up little keto cookies, different variations of anything that you like keto, because you're going to be handling it much differently than you were when you first started ketogenic diet. That's my opinion on it. That's also this book I also recommend. This is the new Atkins. It was written by Dr. Eric Westman, Jeff Volak, and Stephen Finney. These guys are pioneers. These are guys that I've listened to their seminars and everything else. I've gone to so many of these seminars that I feel like I know this stuff just as well as some of these guys. But even I make mistakes on the ketogenic diet, and I'm not afraid to admit that. All right. One of the other books I would recommend is Keto Clarity, and this is Jimmy Moore and Dr. Eric Westman again. They know their stuff. All right. So, my whole theory on the ketogenic diet and knowledge of it is the more you learn, the more you understand, the more successful you're going to be. So I try to do that every day. I have tons of books up here. I have tons of videos in my head. I have so much going on. I've created so many videos for you guys, and I just hope that I'm giving you enough knowledge and enough information so that this can help you on your ketogenic journey, just like I'm going to be trying to help myself, and I need your help as well. So that's it. That's how I'm going to do it. That's my no corner cutting keto. It's pretty simple. It's pretty basic. It's cut and dry what it is. It's so easy it could fit on a postcard. That's it. It's pretty simple. Okay? I'm not going to try to complicate it. I'm not going to try to, change it in any way. I'm going to go back to what worked for me and what was taught to me in the original version of keto, and that's how I'm going to do it. So if you want to keep following me and learning how to do this as well, if you're having that plateau and that frustration in between your water weight loss and what you're doing now, and you just don't understand why you're doing it, follow me. We're going to get through this. I'm going to show you how being very, very strict and very boring on this keto diet really will affect you, and how it's going to actually get you into true ketosis and get you fat adapted. And that is the overall goal, is to get fat adapted. So if you haven't already, I hope you please subscribe to my channel. Like this video if you think it's very helpful. Share it with your friends. Share it on your Facebook. Just share it, share it, share it. I don't care. Share it everywhere. Share it on Twitter. Share it on Instagram. I just would like to be able to help more people as I do this diet, and the more people that we get on the keto, the better our families are going to feel. It's an overall better diet than anything we've been doing for decades. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.